What's going on, everybody? Here we are.
You definitely said Yahoo, but that's all right.
Did I say Yahoo?
I don't know. Maybe not.
It's early.
Maybe it's too early.
I meant YouTube,
And
but shout out to Yahoo.
I was convinced that you did say Yahoo. I don't know.
This is the strategy show. I know this looks a little different on this Wednesday. We got a flip-flop. Laffy and I going long. 12 gamer today. What's up,
Adam
man?
will be on the. Not much, man. How you doing? 12 games. Ugh.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Adam and I will do an hour and a half on the 2 gamer tomorrow.
Is it 2 games tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those days where we as an industry should basically just take off like it's a holiday.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
Just like,
Best thing
hey,
about
everybody, it's the Christmas season. Just go do shit with your family tomorrow. There's 2 basketball games. Just take that one off.
Dude, it's such a valid point. Like, go finish your Christmas shopping, because I haven't done any Christmas shopping yet, so I'll start it. I'll do it. Maybe tomorrow will be a good day to get that done.
There you go. As usual on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. Thrive is a new DFS app where you're picking a lineup of prop bets. You get a list of 20 of all of the main guys from a slate, and you pick your favorite 10, whether it's picking their points or rebounds, assists, or combinations of both of those. They could be going up against each other. Lots of game theory involved. Everybody knows that like Giannis could score 24 points or something in a game, but it's balancing the amount of points you get for your picks. The end of the show, Laffy and I are going to go through 5 of our favorite Thrive props. Also, one last plug before we dive into what seems like will probably be, a relatively long show. Still doing 24 days of giveaways. If you like this video, which you should be doing right away, and comment after the video is over, comments do not unlock until the video ends, you have the opportunity to win a 1-month free all-access premium subscription at awesemo.com. And every entry that you put in from now until Christmas morning, we're bumping it a day, Christmas morning I will announce who wins the premium all-access annual package. 1 free year of awesemo.com. You can't really beat it. It's too good. Being very generous this holiday season. Oh man, 12 gamer makes yesterday look quite a bit different.
Yeah, you think? Hey, John Wall,
Not great,
what a
man.
scumbag, huh?
The weird part of it all, well, I mean, the whole damn team just foul trouble on foul trouble, except for, I guess, Trevor Ariza.
Beal was still great.
Yeah,
he still had 50.
Dude,
but Ariza
if I told
30.
you that Wall played like X amount of minutes or whatever, got into foul trouble, you'd have been like, oh, Satoransky probably had a big night.
Mm-hmm.
Now he didn't. He was also in aggressive foul trouble, as was Markieff Morris, as was basically half of this team.
Yes, and but at least John Collins can get in foul trouble and still have a decent game.
Yeah, it didn't help at all that Trevor Ariza was unplayable on FanDuel. That was another kick in the downstairs because he would have been a very nice play. I mean, he would have been relatively highly owned on a 4-gamer. Very little talent at the small forward position. Yeah. And instead, it was just a goose egg, and he was, arguably the best. He was probably the best point per dollar play on the Wizards yesterday. Like 6 steals or something stupid.
No, unquestionably, yeah. I mean, he was certainly better than Rodions Kurucs.
Better than Damari Carroll as well. Better than DeAndre Bembry.
Yeah, I didn't even see what Bembry did.
I think he had like 4.5 or something.
All right, that's right in line with what Bembry usually does.
Yeah. So, with that said, I think it's about that time to dive in very aggressively. We are going to try to be as abbreviated as possible today. It's going to be really difficult to give any like choice nug hot takes on whether or not you think Tony Parker can play extra minutes or something stupid. We got to hit the high end stuff. So let's dive in right away with the Charlotte Hornets hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hornets 115.5 implied total, Cavs 103. We'll start at the top. Kemba Walker back up to 9,700 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DK. He's a tale of two sites. I can't imagine wanting to spend $9,700 on Kemba Walker tonight on FanDuel, but for $8,400 on DraftKings, he's certainly right in his normal wheelhouse.
He is. The problem is once you get through the other games, right? Like once you actually start looking at some of these other games, you'll realize that even 8,400, it might be tough to play him. Not because he's too expensive, but look, I have a specific thought about this game, and it's that Cleveland's coming off an impressive road win over the Pacers, right? That Larry Nance tip in to walk
I'd call it a very lucky road win.
Sure, well,
Three missed Victor Oladipo free throws. Larry Nance throwing Victor Oladipo to the ground, tipping in a game winner.
but you got to be in the game to get lucky.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Nance looked great yesterday.
Right. You got to at least be competitive to get that luck at the end. Point being, you get that win. We'll call it an unsuspected win.
Yeah.
Now you go into Charlotte. I think they get shit on, man. I think Charlotte's just gonna trash them.
I wasn't ready for that terminology this early in the morning.
All right. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Sure.
Yeah. So, like Kemba obviously could have a monster game here in 3 quarters. I think it's very possible, but I do think this is one of those games where we see some abbreviated run. Just keep in mind, like you've got just out of the gate. You have Anthony Davis against Milwaukee with no Randall, no Mirotic. You have Harden at home against Washington. You have Giannis against the Pelicans, and you have Russell Westbrook, who just had 13 points, but also 62 fantasy points, 13 points in 3 straight actually, or no, 4 straight, 3 straight, and faces a Sacramento team in a game that has a 236 total. By the way, Westbrook has more steals than made field goals over his last 3 games. There's a fun one for you. So my point is there are a lot of really high-end guys that it's going to be hard to prioritize, a lot of these guys that we might like on the surface, but once you dive a little bit deeper in, there's so many good plays tonight, Josh. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. iCasino in chat says Charlotte smashing Cleveland. Why though? They have the highest spread on the entire slate. If we don't think that they're the ones that smashed tonight, then I don't know what we're talking about.
I just said why.
Yeah.
You got Cleveland on the second. This is the same thing as the Phoenix outright from the other day, right? Like it's different in that I'm saying one's a blowout and one was supposed to just win the game. But you got a team that's playing their second of a back-to-back on the road, coming off of an emotional win over a significantly better team. This is just look. All I'm saying is it's your typical letdown spot. It's your typical spot where this should happen, right?
Yeah.
And they're 12.5 point dogs.
Yeah, that's the biggest line on the slate right now.
So that tips it off a little.
Yeah, there's not a line on Knicks Sixers as of right now. I think that could feasibly be higher than this one, but we're in the same ballpark here.
Yeah, no question.
So, yeah, it should be a beating. There's a bigger line in this game than there is for Boston and Phoenix.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
No, Horford, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
And Booker being back for Phoenix.
Sure. Do you want anything from Charlotte? I mean, it's a pace down spot. It's not really that appealing.
No, I really don't. I mean, even Zeller is too expensive right now.
Yeah, he's climbed now back up over 5, which isn't great. He's 5,500 on FanDuel, but I mean, the amount of value that you can find at center, one position, or one, you can only roster one center. I have a hard time believing that on a 12-game slate, Cody Zeller is the guy you land on.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to agree with that analysis.
Yeah. What a hot take. Let me grab ownership, which just got posted right now. So.
Yeah, DraftKings bouncing Diallo's price from 3K to 4,500 too. I found that interesting.
That helps. That's probably a good thing on a day like today. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
The last thing you need on a 12-game slate is one outlier value piece being 40% owned. All right, there we go. Ownership is loaded. We are ready to go. I have no interest in anything on Charlotte. we probably have to talk at least a little bit about Cleveland just because of how short-handed they are. I don't like it. I think Larry Nance is still in play. 7,000 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DK. Colin Sexton was really bad yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But for 4,600 again, like he's going to have to soak up minutes. I assume Jordan Clarkson plays today, but if he doesn't, like you still have to keep guys like Alec Burks and Rodney Hood on your radar. It's not appealing, but they just don't have enough bodies to like totally disregard them.
No, right. There's not a lot of value at point guard right now either. Now, I say that in terms of like cheap guards, right? There's definitely a bunch of guys that we like, and or I know that I like, and we'll get to later in the show. But in terms of just like very inexpensive guys, there's really not that much here. There's not a ton that's going to stand out to you as like a premier play. So yeah, Sexton's fine. I mean, I'd prefer Clarkson to be out.
Yeah.
But that's something we still don't know. I still don't know if it was rest or if it was actually that he was dealing with something. You know, we never really know.
I thought he was sick. Am I wrong?
I
might be thinking of somebody else. A lot of people out yesterday. It
said rest purposes and a minor back injury.
Yeah, okay. Somebody was sick yesterday.
It was Tyreek Evans.
Is that what it was?
Right?
I don't know.
I think so.
I just think that someone was sick. That's the best I could do.
Well, my guess is that somewhere along the road you're right on that assumption. So,
yeah.
Someone was sick. Yeah.
JaVale.
Yeah, there you go. Shit, Oladipo was sick after that game too.
I mean, obviously it's pretty easy to really. Obviously it's really easy to confuse Jordan Clarkson and JaVale McGee.
Yeah. Right.
Naturally similar players.
Yeah, they look so similar too.
They might be literal polar opposites in the NBA.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Larry Nance thought Nance, if he starts again over Jijic, like it's a good play, man. He's not overpriced, but prioritizing him is still going to be tough for me. I mean, yesterday was a great game, but
he's just so active, so involved.
Exactly. The 14 shots, like, dude, if Nance was jacking up even 10 shots a game, I would have him at a low 6K price almost every night. Seriously, like 10 to 12 shots for Nance makes him a really, really valuable player starting at the 5 opposed to at the 4.
Yeah, he was handling the ball a lot, bringing it up, taking it right to the block. Like it was.
Yeah, he did a lot.
I hate that I watched enough of that game that I know that. I hate the Cavs.
It turned out to be a pretty good game, actually.
Yeah, I just wanted more. I was really praying for Oladipo to make one of those two and push that stuff to overtime.
Yeah, right. Oladipo was bad yesterday.
Real bad. Basically inactive for the first half.
Right? What did he finish with? Like two or 3 points in the first half.
Yeah, he only took 3 shots, I think. Miles in chat. We'll just put this one to bed then. Said David Nwaba. He started yesterday and still only played 15 minutes. It doesn't appear that they're bumping his minutes up. And if Clarkson's back, like I expect him to play even like I don't think they're going to go up now. So I can't imagine wanting to play Nwaba today.
Right, and Delly only played 16 minutes too, and he was someone that we had seen play more than that. So, the thing is, even without Clarkson, there's still a decent amount of bodies here, right? Burke still caught his 26 minutes. Clarkson was out. Sexton still played 32, 33 minutes. You have Delly in there. Rodney Hood plays 35 minutes. You still have Chetty Osman, who's obviously getting a lot of run at the 4, but still he played 40 minutes. And then you even have guys like Jared Blossom game who played 23 minutes. Like there are legitimate minute concerns here based just on the amount of bodies that are actually getting run. If Blossom game's getting 23 minutes, then we have some concerns.
Yeah. I really think this is largely a dead game for tonight.
Yeah. Other than Kemba in tournaments on DraftKings and maybe some Nance. Even Sexton, it's tough for me to get to.
I'm okay with Sexton on DK at 46.
Yeah, he's fine, but it's still not a guy that I love.
No, not at all. Projecting to be mildly chalky as well, which is not something you're looking for out of Colin Sexton on a 12-gamer.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, look, if there's one thing we know, it's the minutes will be there, which is good.
Right. Sometimes
And
you
he
need to
and
fall
he
back on that.
right, and he probably can't be any worse than he was yesterday.
It would be difficult. Well, here we go. This one's not going to be much better. I
That's
assume
all right. We'll get through the bad ones first.
Yeah. The Orlando Magic hosting the San Antonio Spurs. 104.5 implied total for the Magic, 103.5 for the Spurs. I believe it's the second lowest game total. These are two of the 5 lowest totals on the slate. Boy, is this one ugly. It's just not that kind of game for fantasy on a 12-game slate. The two things that stand out to me from a Orlando perspective would be some combination of Jonathan Isaac or DJ Augustine on DraftKings, 4,100 and 4,000 respectively. Do you want any part of Orlando right now?
I have nothing from this game actually. On other than saying DeRozan is affordable and unfortunately lost minutes in a blowout to the Sixers, but 38 and 29 minutes. Still, we still know he has the upside. If people want to make an art, look, it's very easy to just name every player in every game and get be able to get lucky on that. But no, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that this is a game I really like and just in case one of these guys goes off. No, that's not how I operate. So I really don't have much on either side of this game, Josh.
Same. I have a flat 0 of the Spurs side, and I've got 3% of Aaron Gordon on my first FanDuel crunch, which could just be randomness.
Right.
Nothing.
And you know what? Sorry. Like with a game like this, if let's just say, Aaron Gordon that's ruled out, right? Not that he's injured or anything, but just hypothetically speaking, then I don't care about the total in this game. It could be 198, and I'd still have plenty of interest in Jonathan Isaac, right?
Yeah.
The point per dollar value has to be significant enough to overlook what are expected to be some really, really appealing games for fantasy purposes, whether it's OKC, Sacramento, whether it's New Orleans, Milwaukee, Houston, Washington, and I'll even throw Philly, New York Knicks in there. Like there are a lot of games here that have a lot of appeal. In order to get here, you need to have like true point per dollar value, and I just don't see any of it outside of, you mentioned Augustine. I think he's fine, but what are you hoping for? 21, 25 fantasy points at the most?
Right. Yeah, the key takeaway for this, and I feel like it doesn't get brought up enough, but this game's got a 208 implied total or 208 total. Other games are like 230 something. Like that's every point is a point. And like that gets lost sometimes, but there are like an additional 25 plus points in a lot of these games that just need to be appropriated through a roster. That's why it gets really tough to grab this stuff.
I'll take it a step further than that. Every possession is a possession.
Yeah.
That if it doesn't end in a point and it doesn't go out of bounds, right, is likely ending in a defensive rebound or continued with an offensive rebound, or a blocked shot or a steal or an assist, or you know what I mean? So all of it's not just the scoring, it's everything that goes into that scoring, and each possession just matters. And the Spurs and the Magic both average less than 100 possessions per 48. They're 24th and 25th in pace respectively this year. That's not exactly a spot that you're targeting. And someone might say, yeah, dude, but that's only like 6, 7, 8 total possessions fewer than you would expect in a lot of games. Well, 8 fewer possessions per 48 can equal, a lot more. It matters a lot when you're talking about a game that literally is expected to see 20 or 25 to 30 fewer points than several other games on this slate.
Right. You don't, like, people don't realize it. You don't think about it so intuitively like that, but
right.
It makes the margin of error for taking guys from the Magic and Spurs really narrow.
Right. But also, where is the real point per dollar value? Again, if this was Memphis and Jaren Jackson was 4,300 like he was earlier in the season, and we knew he had upside, I don't care if it's a low total. I really don't. Right?
Right.
If Derek White was getting 35 minutes starting at point guard and was 3,800, I have a lot of interest. It's not like pace. It's not like I look at a game and say, "Oh, look how low that total is. Look how slow these teams are. I don't want any of them." It's not that. It's I'm not gonna. Why force yourself to play these guys when none of them stand out to begin with? I mean, really, the only guy that I think is even remotely interesting on San Antonio, other than if you think DeRozan has upside at his price, would probably be Rudy Gay, just because of how well he's playing lately and he's still cheap. I'm not going to force myself anywhere here, though.
Yeah, like I agree. DeRozan at 8,200 on both sites, so 8,200
Right.
on FanDuel specifically then is an appealing price point for him. But you also then have to factor in there are 8 other shooting guards in his general area that have better game scripts than he does for today.
Exactly.
Yeah, this one's dead to me.
Yeah.
All right, next one up, and there's a little bit of a guess on this one since we do not have a line yet. Sixers and Knicks. I've got Sixers 120, Knicks 108. It's going to be somewhere in that 10-plus point range as a line, and the total should be relatively decent.
Yeah.
The Sixers will be big favorites here.
No question. We're waiting on. We don't have a line because we're waiting on the Hardaway news.
Yeah, that's really relevant.
Right. I guess if you move the line a couple points, that's all that matters. You want to? Who are we starting with? Philly.
Yeah, let's start with Philly. What do you like out of the big three?
All right. This is easy. I don't have anything from Philly in this one.
Ooh, I do.
Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely. I can't play Embiid here. And if the question is why, well, I'll say it again. I mentioned it a lot on the Early Bird podcast for anybody that missed it. For anyone that heard it, I won't belabor the point. Anthony Davis, James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Russell Westbrook, all of them in phenomenal spots for one reason or another, whether it's matchup or injury or over under here, or just the overall competitive nature of these games. Like Joel Embiid with Butler on the court, can he still produce big numbers? Yes, he can, but he's not discounted enough from these guys to where I feel like it's necessary to go there. The only one of the big three that I would have interest in here is Ben Simmons. And I've had interest in Ben Simmons ever since Butler came along because it really hasn't affected his production. We've seen a bunch of blowouts over the past few games, but Ben Simmons still on a permanent basis. I mean, he triple-doubled in 3 quarters the other day, and that was with Butler playing his full allotment of minutes. So he's my guy. I don't even with the depth at other positions, I'm not even interested in Jimmy Butler at 7,200 on DraftKings.
I have some interest in him at 7,500 on FanDuel.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's just simply too cheap for him. Like, especially against this Knicks team where he can. I feel like he could pick a lot of. Like, he has some steal potential here, especially if Hardaway's out and we have guys trying to force a little bit more than normal. Even if he's in, I have some interest in Jimmy Butler. He popped up a lot for me. I probably do need to walk his projection back a little bit, just eyeballing where he's been in the last 30 compared to where I have him for today. But if this total does stay with Philly being somewhere in like that 120 total neighborhood, I think he's just like a couple $100 underpriced. There's just this sea of dudes in this area where it's like, CJ McCollum is 7,200, D'Angelo Russell is 7,200, Middleton is 71, DeMar DeRozan is 8,200. Booker is back, but he's 8,600. I think that Butler is just slightly underpriced relative to where some of these other shooting guards are on FanDuel right now.
That's fair. Yeah, I have him pretty much like same. I see him as a similar player to D'Angelo Russell right now. Over fantasy terms, overall, Butler's a significantly better player than D'Angelo Russell, but from a fantasy standpoint, just the ups and downs, the overall volatility, or inconsistencies in usage alone, uh, have them pretty comparable in my opinion. So, look, I get it. I actually would probably rather go down to like a Dennis Schroeder at 5,700 and hope that he continues playing 30 plus minutes. But look, I get it. It's just, Jimmy Butler is not a cash game play. I know you don't play cash, but just for anyone listening, I don't think you play Butler in cash just based solely on the fact that it seems like every game he either has a 18% usage rate or a 30% usage rate, and sometimes he has real big gains, and other times, even in winning efforts, he doesn't really do much at all.
Second highest standard deviation of everybody at shooting guard today for me. So,
All right.
a lot of volatility there.
Yeah.
What do you have him projected for? Just want to see if I'm that off.
I have DraftKings pulled up. Hold on. I have him at 37 on DraftKings.
Okay. See, I have him at 39.4.
Okay. And honestly, even at like 37, he's gonna show up in some of my, or he's gonna be in some of my lineups at that projection.
Yeah.
So it's not that I projections certainly don't dislike him. I just try and limit it here because factoring in the blowout risk with the fact that sometimes he can just be non-existent is concerning. But if here's the thing too, if you like him at 75 on FanDuel, you probably have interest at 72 on DraftKings as well, because 72 on DraftKings isn't exactly overpriced.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
What about the Knicks side? Cantor looks interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Look, that last game, we saw them get we saw them get blown out at home by the Phoenix Suns, first of all. And then and Cantor, if you look at his rotation, he played 10.5 minutes in the first. He played 7 minutes in the second. In the third, he played 6.5 minutes. So his rotation was significantly shorter. And then he came back in for 3 minutes and 45 seconds in the fourth, but they were down by a lot of points. And I honestly think it was just so Luke Cornett didn't play 15 straight minutes, because Cornett came right back in, right? Like towards the end of this game, you had Hezonja, you had Cornett, you had Burke, you had Ntilikina. Like that's who was closing this game out. Kevin Knox was as well. But Fizdale, went with the bench. Here's my thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He had a 10-man rotation, but right now you're basically seeing Cornett soak up the large majority of backup center minutes. So Cantor played 28 and he played 14. So that's 6 remaining, which we've seen Vonleh grab with when he's out. But aside from that, like I just don't see why. Obviously, if it's a blowout, then yes, Cantor's not going to get that run. But that was a second of a back-to-back, Josh. And Cantor playing 28 minutes still did not kill you whatsoever, right? 37 at 6,700 is not killing you. And it's very difficult for Enes Kanter to kill you at even 7,100 on DraftKings, with Mitchell Robinson still out. So I think even at 71 on FanDuel. So Cantor's still very much in play for me. He's not in play he was last game against the Phoenix, but he does have a day of rest. He's not on a back-to-back. And you know what? Cantor, while Embiid is eating him alive at times, he has also had significant success in this matchup before too. So I think Enes Kanter is a good play with Robinson out, and I expect him to get up above 32 minutes again now that he's had a day to rest.
Yeah, I really like that $7,100 price tag on FanDuel. I'll like it a lot more even if Tim Hardaway is out.
Right.
And then Trey Burke, 3,800. If he can start soaking up, minutes in the mid-20s again, 3,800 is a really nice price if you want to just half punt a position.
If Hardaway's out, I would.
How many minutes do you think he plays if he's in?
Not enough. Alonzo Trier's out, so that's good.
Yeah.
But my thing is that Legalized says, "How'd you do in Yahoo you last night?" Not good, dude. I had a lot of John Wall and I had too much Kuruks. So no, not good. Um, Fizdale's all about Emmanuel Mudiay right now, and Emmanuel Mudiay is worthy. Like he's deserving of that run, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing really good. He's playing good enough basketball right now to where it's tough to say, all right, all right, Manny, we're gonna throw Trey in for an extra 15 because you're just not cutting it. No, and looking at their playing time last game, Burke came in for Mudiay in the first, and then in the second, they played about 2 minutes together, and then Burke came out, and then he played about 1.5 minutes with Mudiay in the third, and then in the fourth, in a game that was already out of control, they played about 4 minutes together. So 4, 5, 6. They probably played like 8 minutes together on the night. I could see that being the case again, but I think in order for Mudiay or for Burke to have a real solid game, either he needs to catch fire, which we haven't seen lately, or Mudiay needs to lose minutes.
Oh, absolutely. I only want Burke if Hardaway is out.
Right. That's where I'm at as well, because I don't Burke is not going to get even 24, 25 if Hardaway plays. I don't see that being the case, because Courtney Lee played 22 minutes. That's still 14 to 17 minutes voided with Hardaway being off, right? Because Courtney Lee's not filling that role entirely,
Right.
and Trier is out. So who else are you going to have do it? Not Hazonia, not Cornette. Anil Aquina can, sure, but you need a shooter at times, and he's just one of the worst shooters in the entire league.
He certainly is.
Terrible.
You got anything else in this game?
Dave says Mudiay is the only Knick I'm even considering today. Yeah, I don't like Mudiay in this particular spot, honestly. I'd much rather go with Enes Kanter. Like if you're talking about just Knicks and relative value, I know that Mudiay's had some solid numbers yesterday, but you're gonna have a tough time convincing me that he's worth close to Kanter's price point. I think Mudiay comes back down to earth, and I'm not huge on this spot for him now.
He's 7,300 on FanDuel. He's the most expensive Nick. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole on FanDuel.
Nah, even 64 on DraftKings is tough for me to stomach.
I cannot imagine playing Emmanuel Mudiay at that price today.
I'm sure he's minimum salary on Yahoo, though.
Sick burn.
No, it's not even a burn. Like I bet he's probably like $14.
I have it here. He's 20.
Oh wow, he's $20.
Yeah,
they're getting brazen, huh? They just bumped it from a 100K contest to 200K because they've been filling that at like 5:30 p.m. So they just they just doubled the entries, doubled the payouts, and now the overlay's 50K. They're saying guaranteed 50K guaranteed overlay.
yeah. They should just give me that 50K directly.
Yeah,
and just let the tournament be regular. If they're just trying to hand out generous donations,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
yeah. I had a tough time getting my hands on that free money on Yahoo yesterday.
Yeah,
so that didn't work out too well.
No. All right, let's get out of this Philly game, I guess.
We're actually not.
The line is out.
Pace.
13. Philly minus 13, 228.
So the biggest spread on the night.
Yep. I had it at 12 and 228. So, what up?
Nice. The Sixers just never. They'll win some games and blowouts, but even Cleveland, they were down by like 10 at the middle of the second quarter. That game didn't create any separation until the end of the third. So I still think they win by a decent margin, but I have less concerns about that one than I do about Charlotte, actually. But I'm happy to move on too.
Yeah. Boston Celtics and Phoenix Suns, 115 implied total for the Celtics, 103.5 for the Suns. Noel Horford, Jaylen Brown, I believe, is questionable. Not a lot looking good, both for Boston in general, but specifically on the DK side, where everyone is just slightly better priced over on FanDuel. I don't know. Kyrie at 9,000 or 9,100. If Jaylen Brown plays, he's 4,300 on FanDuel. I could kind of talk myself into that, but I really don't have a ton of interest in anything here.
I have Kyrie in tournaments. That's it.
Yeah.
Seriously, I have Kyrie kind of on a similar level to Kemba Walker. Both of them have immense upside. Kyrie's just I don't know. For some reason I still feel like Kyrie is an underrated player. Got into a Twitter argument with people the other day, other quote unquote touts. Not a fan of that word, but talking about how like if one of them pops off with how Kyrie's super overrated and this and that and how he's not that good. Like Kyrie's good. He's a really good player, and he could drop 40 in 3 quarters, 40 real points in 3 quarters. So I'm never gonna write him off against this awful Phoenix Suns backcourt. It's just I mentioned this against Chicago or against Atlanta, and exactly what I mentioned happened. That as much as I love Irving in a matchup with Atlanta, if they blow them out, if they win in a blowout, it's not like Westbrook or Harden where you get 30 or 31 minutes. You get 23 or 24 minutes because Brad Stevens sees the direction the game is going, and he even limits your first half rotation and then a little bit, even if by a couple minutes, and then your third quarter rotation, he cuts it in half. So we see that with Irving all the time. And he played 24 minutes, right? He played 23 against Chicago. Granted, some of these are big blowouts, but still, Atlanta was not that big. They kept coming back within like 13, 15 points, and Irving still only played 24 minutes. So he is someone that does run real blowout risk, not losing 4 or 5 minutes, but losing 10 or 11 minutes. And that's a big, big difference because he was on pace to post monster numbers in that Atlanta game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really difficult time for him to do that here if it doesn't stay close, and they're 11.5 point favorites.
Yep.
And it's not even so much that I think they blow them out offensively, but it's the defense that has the ability to just simply remove Phoenix from this game.
Absolutely. Just like OKC in Chicago the other day, where you have the best defense against the worst offense.
Yep. Exactly. So it's all really like a tough sell for me. Unless you're trying to script out a game where you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take Terry Rozier because I think he gets 6 extra minutes because Kyrie plays 25. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't see it.
If I could say one thing here when it comes to Kyrie Irving, if I'm going to play Kyrie, I really think that I'm going to have a decent amount of Devin Booker on in those lineups. And I'm not big on the whole, with basketball, I don't think it's always necessary to run it back. Like where in football, so often you see the winning Millie Maker has a quarterback and wide receiver from one team and maybe, the tight end and then a wide receiver from the team they're facing. Because in a game like that, if a team goes up early, if the Chiefs go up early by 20 points, the opposing team has to throw and abandon the run. In basketball, you still have to shoot to come back.
Sure.
And you still have to shoot to win and to stay competitive. Nothing really changes. Maybe you'll run a little bit quicker. Maybe you'll take a few more 3-pointers, but you're still doing the same thing. You're not literally removing players on the offense from the game, whereas in football, a running back, a Chris Carson can be eliminated from the game. In basketball, that's not the case, so I don't think it's as strong. But in a spot like this, the blowout matters and the minutes matter. And if Irving plays 36 minutes, that means Devin Booker probably has a really solid game.
Yeah, people in chat are not keen on this game being a blowout. I'm not sure if they've seen the line or not.
I'm not sure if they've seen the Suns. I don't know what we're talking.
Well, now that they have Kelly Oubre, maybe they're just going to be good.
look, you can get, and I'm not going to argue with anyone. If you don't think it's going to be a blowout, that's totally fine. You're talking to somebody that literally sitting here predicting Phoenix Suns wins and being right
Brutal.
by the way. Dave says the Suns have looked solid, Laffy.
Where?
They blew out. Look, they blew out
When Dan Marley was
the
there?
Knicks. They blew out the Knicks, and they beat Minnesota. Right? They blew out the Knicks and they beat Minnesota. That 2 games does not a good team make. Once again, if you see this game staying close, that's fine. Like I don't have any problem with that. Uh, unless if it's like arbitrary insight that is contributing to this though. That like, oh, they've looked solid, or is there a way that we expect them to do this? But all I'm saying is, if you look, if you're someone that thinks this game stays close, then regardless of matchup, you're going to want to have Devin Booker, because I can assure you that this game is not going to stay close unless Devin Booker shows up. And the reason they won those last 2 games is because Devin Booker has had big games in both of them. Without Devin Booker, you don't win either. Hell, I don't even think they won by 18 over the Knicks. I think they'd still probably lose against the Knicks if Booker had 38 points.
Right.
So, yeah, so we're actually on the same page. I don't think it stays that close, but if it does, and I think it is, and I'm playing Irving, then I want Booker too.
No, I totally agree with that take. I didn't have much of this game. I got 1 share of Kelly Oubre. That's about it. I'm good. I can't. It's another wholly unappealing fantasy game.
Right. I think you need to be pretty anecdotal if you're gonna come up with reasons that this game stays real competitive, or you're using the last 2 games.
I can't take this anymore. Josh doesn't say himself that he doesn't watch the games. I don't watch baseball. I watch basketball constantly. It's without question my favorite sport. Well, outside of soccer, which I don't cover. But we started
You
off the
watched
show
the
talking about
Cavaliers
watching all of the
yesterday.
Cavs yesterday.
Mhm.
I watch basketball constantly. What I do pay attention to is the most, in theory, accurate piece of information that we get, which is the line and the total. I can't start anywhere else other than that. It is a piece of information that is as close to like the best piece of information that we can get to start a day. I'm not saying that it's like the error bars on that are gigantic, but it's also like a linchpin of information for everyone in the industry to start the day.
Yeah, especially when you're only given what. First of all, and I say this on the shows all the time, a 12-point spread can be deceiving, right? This You could have this game be tied going into the fourth quarter, and the Suns still lose by 13. We
Yeah.
see that happen very frequently.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking it into like if you have a gut feeling, fine, but it's not our job to operate on gut feelings, because that's not doing you any favors unless you have something to back it up, like something that makes sense, that you can articulate to the listener, that makes sense and is reasonable, as to why this should happen. And we see it happen all the time. A bad team stays competitive. It happens against the Warriors frequently, constantly. And then the Warriors still cover. But going off of the lines is something that, like you said, it's information that you have to use, because otherwise, where are you getting your jumping off point? But even aside from that, Phoenix may have looked good over the past couple of games, and I watched that Minnesota game. I had quite a bit of players in that game. It's still a much better Boston team on the whole. So that's all. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we can have differences of opinion. It doesn't mean that one of us has to be wrong. At least not before tip off.
Right. It's just like if I'm ranking games in likelihood of a blowout, this is probably like third. I have a hard time not going basically in order of the spread, because that's just like I don't have any better information than that. People putting their money where their mouth is for that stuff puts the line in a spot where I have to trust it at least mildly.
Right. Right.
Let's go to Toronto and Indiana. This game does have a line now. 109.75 implied total for the Raptors, 101.25 for the Pacers. 8-point underdogs heading into Toronto. A little bit up in the air for the Raptors. It's really not that appealing of a spot to begin with. Pacers, last night's loss notwithstanding, and Victor Oladipo looking like utter garbage. The Pacers defense is really good, and this is not like an up and down fantasy game.
Nah, Miles Turner's looked very good as well, man.
Yeah, he did.
He's been solid, no question. I still don't have a lot of interest in this game, and I tell you what, if Kyle Lowry ends up sitting in this game, you say, okay, well, Kawhi Leonard's 9,200 on DraftKings, 97 on FanDuel. Once again, it's not that bad until you start comparing him to the other expensive players. The question you got to ask yourself, is it worth oh God. Is it worth said Miles Turner's only good at home.
Seems right.
Yes, this year he has been significantly better at home. Except he's shooting better on the road by 8%. If you can give me some actual information to back up why that is the case, outside of decreased usage on the road, then we can have a conversation. But I have zero interest in playing him against Toronto anyway, so it's not an argument we need to get into on a 12-game slate.
No.
And even if he's not as good on the road, he's still a good defender at any venue. So there's that. But with Kawhi, is it worth going to Kawhi over, Westbrook at 1,800? I know different positions, but it doesn't matter when you're talking about the high end guys, or Giannis at a $1,900 difference. To me, I really don't think it is, because those guys offer legitimate 80+ fantasy point upside. Kawhi might give you the occasional 60 fantasy point game, but you're not getting the slate breaker from him. Even at 9,200 with Lowry out, I think he's a fine play, but I'd gear him more towards cash. I just don't think I want to pay that much for him in tournaments against a good defense. This, as good as he is, it's just not a spot that I'm super I don't have a ton of interest in.
No,
or anyone.
If I get any Kawhi, it's fine. I never have that sort of aversion. He's $500 more expensive than Kevin Durant tonight on FanDuel. That's really all that matters to me. If those two guys are ever priced, let's just say the same, but in this case, Durant being cheaper, I'm just going to play Durant.
Wow, Durant's 9,400 on DraftKings. I just would rather pay up to the high end.
Yeah.
They're too appeal. Like on what's today? Wednesday. On Monday, Giannis, Westbrook, Harden, and Davis were all on the slate, and all of them were in spots that had red flags. On this slate, they're all in spots where it's like I could legitimately see them, going for 85.
Oh, for real? Yeah, we're gonna get there. Do you think? Do we think Kawhi? Or yeah, do we think Kawhi? Do we think Kyle Lowry plays?
I really don't know. I really do not know. I don't want to speak to that. I don't have any idea.
I mean, obviously Van Vliet is in play then. If he does not, DeLon Wright becomes a guy that you want to take a look at on FanDuel. Who else is up in the air? Norm Powell may be back, whether that matters or not. Siakam's probable.
I thought Norman Powell was going to be back.
Yeah, he's cleared to play. He's available. I just don't know if it matters.
I don't think so.
Ibaka, questionable. So, if for some reason Ibaka is out, take a very close look at Siakam and then start looking at Greg Monroe and, well, have fun with that.
Yeah, and another thing too is with Dylan Wright, we got to see if Fred Van Vliet's probable, and that's the only reason that Wright saw 38 minutes last game, because Van Vliet and Lowry were out.
Right.
So I would have a very tough time going there on a 12-game slate. Actually, not a very tough time. I wouldn't go there on a 12-game slate if Van Vliet plays. Not enough minutes.
I would still think about it on FanDuel where you can drop him, but that's a very different discussion than playing him on DK.
Fair enough.
He's not out of the realm for me at 3,900 if I can throw it away if Kyle Lowry is out. It's a lot of ifs, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good amount of ifs for sure.
Other
Van
than that,
Vliet-
I'm good on Toronto, and I'm pretty much good on Indiana too. The 7 and 7:30 games are not appealing from a fantasy perspective.
It's bad. There's really you might find yourself with like just one if you're max entering, but if you have one lineup, you might find yourself with like nobody even playing until 8 o'clock. So we'll see.
Tonight's probably the night that Oladipo goes for like 70 fantasy points after that stink bomb against the Cavs.
Oh, you know what? It's actually a pretty good point. That's actually Oladipo's 8,500 on DraftKings. If there was a spot here where because he does have like 65 fantasy points, we've seen monster games from him, and we've seen him do it so frequently, and we know that he can have those games with like 35 points or 30 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 5 steals.
Yeah.
Then I do agree that Victor Oladipo actually on DraftKings at 8,500 is a very interesting tournament play. He's also a very risky one, but yeah, if you're trying to just go super off the reservation with somebody, there's him. But again, he's not a priority at all. I just want to say though, before we move on, we know that Valanciunas is out, and now Serge Ibaka is questionable. You might legitimately get a Greg Monroe game.
Yeah.
If Ibaka is out. Now Monroe went from 35 to 41, I guess because Ibaka is questionable, but it's possible that Monroe gets like a lot of additional run in this game if Ibaka is out. So at least keep a close eye on that.
What a time! What a time to be alive.
Yeah, right. Siakam's expected to return, but still, I think Monroe would get run. That's sketchy, but hey, the guy, one of the Monroe, man, in the post, like, and even around the basket, he can still do his business, man. Al Jefferson did it for so many years. He had a bevy of post moves. It didn't matter how old he was. You just give it to him, back to the basket and let him do his business.
Oh, this game. I'm anxious to watch Oladipo again and see if he looks any better.
Yeah. The back-to-back doesn't make you feel too good, but
it really doesn't at all.
Nah.
I want to start getting into games that are at least functional.
Let's do it.
By the way, everybody, hit that like button. Be ready to comment after this video. Do we have anything good for today?
I do, but I'm saving it for the deep dive.
Okay. That's fair.
It's too hard to come up with things, man.
I got one, everybody. We'll get it out of the way
got?
now so that people can gear up their answers for later. Hit that like button. Comment on the video. What's the final score of the Boston Celtics versus the Phoenix Suns?
All right. 108 to 90.
Oh, boy. There you go.
Phoenix.
If you like and comment, you have the opportunity to win a 1-month premium all-access subscription at awesemo.com. Cannot beat it. Takes very, very little work for you, too. Chicago Bulls, Brooklyn Nets, 106.25 implied total for the Bulls, 107.75 for the Nets. So 1.5 favorite in Chicago. Bulls defense, not great. At least Chris Dunn is back to make them feel a little bit better. Yeah, this one's a tough one for me again, but at least we're getting like in the neighborhood of games that are better. Totals are starting to climb up. Is there any piece of the Bulls that really stands out to you?
Yeah, I think the Bulls win this game, and I like Chris Dunn a lot.
Yeah, I get it.
I like Chris Dunn a lot. Talk about letdown spots. Brooklyn just beat the Lakers in front of a home crowd. Now they travel on the second game of a back-to-back to Chicago to face a bad Bulls team that desperately needs a win. Meanwhile, Brooklyn has won 6 straight games. This seems like a perfect spot for their winning streak to come to an end against the Bulls. And Chris Dunn is I said it on the podcast too, but like it doesn't matter if the Bulls win. We just want this game to stay close, right?
Right.
And I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. They're 2-point dogs at home. He lost minutes in a blowout last game, but I expect Chris Dunn to see 34, 36 minutes here. I like him a lot in this game with Zach LaVine out. I just think Chris Dunn at $6,300 on DraftKings is way too cheap. Even at 7K on FanDuel, he's affordable. But on DraftKings, you have the shooting guard eligibility too. 6,300. I just find Chris Dunn a phenomenal play here.
Really like him at 6,300. It's a nice spot. 7,000's fine. There's just a sea of guys in that sort of area that we will be getting to shortly. Anybody else here? Like, do you think Wendell Carter can keep his ass on the court for more than 20 minutes?
That's the thing, man. I would love to play Wendell Carter at that price point. It definitely jumps at you, but I don't really have any faith in his ability to do so, and I don't even know if it's tough. Like now, you got to get Bobby Portis minutes. Is he going to see some minutes at the 5 against this Brooklyn team? It's possible.
This is the team to do it, I guess.
Right. I think Wendell Carter at that price definitely still has some upside, but there's just immense risk even there. Like he's cheap enough to where I'm gonna have interest,
Yeah.
but if he played 19 minutes again, I wouldn't even be somewhat surprised. He's just been way too uh, plagued by fouls, and even so, Boylan hasn't exactly been chomping at the bit to give him 30 minutes a night either.
No, not at all. I'm probably going to walk back his minutes a little bit now that I'm looking into his game logs a little bit further. It's a tough sell.
Yeah. I think Markkanen's fine. He's getting up there in price a bit, but high usage, big minutes. Him and Chris Dunn are the two guys that would stand out to me. And yeah, I think both of them are perfectly reasonable plays against Brooklyn.
Okay. Anything from the Brooklyn side, because I didn't get anything, and they're better priced on FanDuel by a mile.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me. Like someone like Joe Harris, if he was a little cheaper, I'd have interest. But even if Crabbe is out, you're gonna have a tough time paying above 5K for him. If especially if Allen Crabbe is in, that becomes even more difficult to do. If Crabbe is in, you're not paying 5K plus for Joe Harris.
No.
I mean, you can if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. Not on this slate. Russell's a fine tournament play.
Yeah, he's $500 cheaper on FanDuel. That's always nice.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what he always is. And look, against Philly and Washington, D'Angelo Russell had 22 and 23 fantasy points. Dinwiddie had 51 and 41. Then Dinwiddie goes 26 and 27 against Atlanta and the Lakers, and Russell has 56 and 50. There's definitely there's the obvious clear connection there that they can both get minutes, but one will lose minutes to the other and one will lose fantasy production to the other. The tough thing, Josh, is predicting which one of them is going to have the big game on a nightly basis, because Atkinson is quick to shorten the leash on Russell if Dinwiddie comes out and has a great first rotation. It's been very difficult to predict who it's going to be.
Yeah, I got 1% of Rondé Hollis Jefferson and not another single piece of the Brooklyn Nets. So
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. And Jared Allen's minutes, continue to stay suppressed. So that sucks.
Yeah, there's nothing here unless Crabbe's got to be out for sure before you start taking like a slightly deeper look.
Yeah, before you start jumping on to Kurucs. 17 minutes yesterday. Real disappointing. I know a lot of people liked him. I had a good amount of him just on Yahoo because he was minimum salary and the position wasn't that great, but it still didn't do me any favors, especially since Ariza had such a big game.
Yes, he did.
Dunn's just far and away the best play from this game.
I completely agree with you. Here we go. Now we're getting into stuff where we can talk about people that are functionally good. The Houston Rockets hosting the Washington Wizards. 118 implied total for the Rockets, 107 for the Wizards. At least there are bodies that resemble stars here. But there's no telling what Washington team comes to play here. We'll start on the Houston side, though. 11-6 for James Harden, 11-4 on DraftKings. I mean, in a vacuum, it's not going to get much better than this. The Wizards' defense is not fantastic. They are playing not exactly inspired defensive, not a lot of inspired defensive work. They were looking to get one last stop there, down 7 yesterday. Held on, 4 seconds, and he got waltzed right down the center of the paint, floater. Game. They're just really, really bad from a team defense perspective. So I would have no issue going to James Harden here. I have no issue going to Clint Capella. I don't have much issue going to Chris Paul. Eric Gordon, if you need an option here, is fine for me. It's hard for me to not like the Houston side. These guys just play giant minutes and no one else plays.
Yeah. Harden's just had everything working for him recently too. You watch any of his recent games, it's clear he's getting the shots to fall that weren't falling earlier in the season. And he's getting to the line at a higher clip too, right? Look at his free throw rate prior to this 3-game stretch is down. We saw it last year too. In the early goings of the year. In his last 3 games, he's gotten to the line 19, 13, and 16 times. When you're talking about, an 85, 90% free throw shooter, that certainly does you a lot of favors. Now he's going to see his assist rate. It's going to be suppressed a bit with Chris Paul on the court. There's no question. But just the immense amount of volume and minutes that we're getting from James Harden is the ability to get to the line and rebound. He's a really great play here, and he's the first of many that we're going to talk about. Also, 41 minutes in 2 straight games, even with Paul back. And another thing that's crazy is 2 of those games where he dropped 70 and 71.5. That was against Memphis and against Utah.
Not exactly the way you expect that to shake out.
Right. One team that has the plays at the slowest pace and has a top 5 defense. Another that has a top 3 defense since the start of December and plays at a bottom 10 pace. So, I mean, Utah hasn't been as good this year, but they've improved a lot recently. And he dropped 47 on him with 15 of 16 from the charity stripe. So, of course I like him here. Now, on the other hand, do I like Capella? Yes, I definitely like Capella. I even think Eric Gordon, if you're looking to just throw darts, he playing big minutes. He's just been so terrible. He's cheap. He's dirt cheap on DraftKings. He's 4,400. I get it. I don't know how much I end up with, but if he pops up in like 10% of lineups, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That's probably it for me. Harden and Capella are the 2 guys here that I have interest in. I don't think I can pay for Paul here. Like, he's $100 less than Walker, and even though I have some blowout concern with Walker, I'd rather go him over Paul. And also, I don't think we should kid ourselves. This game could very easily blow out as well.
Yeah, 11-point line. It's very much a factor.
Yeah, and the Wizards are also on their second of a back-to-back on the road after losing by 8 to the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
they're a bad basketball team.
They are a bad basketball team indeed. What do we do with John Wall? 10-2 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. Do you go there at all?
I have zero interest, but I'm sure this will be a night where he bounces back with like 60 fantasy points.
Strikes me more as the type of game that he'd get up for. And Houston, well known for excellent strip clubs, as James Harden knows very well. Wall is like a kid in a candy store after this game tonight. He's going to go out, he's going to drop 50, and he's going to have a good night.
Yeah, how do you prioritize him though?
You can't.
Dave says John Wall is, I think at this point he's just trolling. Uh it says John Wall is a lock. They were saving him for this game. I mean, he got in foul trouble, dude. So I
On
don't know about
garbage
being
fouls too. Poke arounds at half court on Jeremy Lin. What are you doing, man?
yeah.
Playing defense
Yeah.
like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah. Save him for the game that he's far less likely to win. You know,
Yeah.
let's restrict his minutes against the Hawks when we desperately need a win to the point where we signed Trevor Ariza and played him 38 minutes in his debut. That sounds logical.
Speaking of Trevor Ariza, 4,500 on
Oh
DraftKings. He's
yeah,
going to be real
I have a lot
chalky,
of them.
but it's, I mean, a great spot.
I'm still gonna have, dude. Scott Brooks runs. I mentioned this to you yesterday morning. Scott Brooks runs his starters into the ground. It doesn't matter who you are. There's no reason Trevor Ariza is not going to see huge minutes coming to Washington. First game, second game, third game, fourth game, doesn't matter. This is what Brooks does, and he's going to continue to do it. Don't expect 48 fantasy points, but Ariza did shoot 17 times yesterday. I'd venture to say, without looking, that that was a season high.
That seems reasonable to me.
I'll
Let's
tell you
see.
right now. It is. He didn't shoot more than, he hasn't
12?
shot more than 13 times in a game.
There, yeah, 13. He was gunning,
So,
man.
yeah, and he has double-digit three-point attempts. Yeah, granted, if we put it in context, John Wall was also sidelined with foul trouble, played only 26 minutes. But you know, even if you were to shrink that down to more minutes with Wall on the court, you're still looking at, 12, 13, maybe 14 field goal attempts, which for a guy like Ariza at 4,500 is very appealing.
Yeah. What about Beal? 8,200 on FanDuel, 81 on DK. I'd be fine. No issues
Say
with
that
it.
again?
He just keeps playing everything that he can handle, whether he can handle it or not.
Who is this? Sorry.
Beal.
Yeah. Going to be tough to get there. You're going to get a lot of minutes from him. I do worry though with the amount of mileage that's been on him this season, traveling on a back-to-back. It's not that he's old, right? He's not like 40 years old. But, 39 minutes against the Lakers, 39 before that, 38 before that, 44 before that, 40 minutes last night, and now you're getting up and you're traveling. Sure, it's not a long distance, but you're still traveling, right? You're still going from Atlanta to Houston with no break.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, Ariza looks good on DK. After that, oh God, I don't know.
I got a good comment. Dante says, good players will have Wall in their lineups today. Bad players will look at yesterday and be terrified to play him.
I'm terrified to play him because he's 10,200 today on a 12-game slate, and they're 11-point underdogs.
It's less about being terrified to play him and more about what's the point of prioritizing him. I will say this much. I prefer Wall over Beal simply because he played 14 fewer minutes than him yesterday because he was so bad and in foul trouble. But I mean, if you're look, go ahead. I said I'm never going to tell anybody who to play in terms of you make your own decisions. But I think with John Wall, if you think, put it this way, yesterday's game is hardly a concern. I mean, the guy dropped 80 fantasy points like 2 games ago, so we all know that he's capable of doing it. It's more or less, where do you have him prioritized? Where do you have him?
I'd be surprised if I got any. If I get a lineup or two with him in, I'm totally cool with it. I have him hitting his ceiling, or hitting the target score like 17% of the time. It's just there's so much else out there that to pay up for. What is he? 1, 2, 3, 4. He's the fifth, sixth most expensive guy on FanDuel. He is not the fifth or sixth most talented guy on this slate. There's a lot behind him. I can't imagine wanting to spend 10-2 on John Wall, knowing that $9,200 Kevin Durant is out there.
See, for me, it's not even like that. I don't even see it that way. But I don't disagree with you. It's for me, it's if I'm playing John Wall, can I get Russell Westbrook or Harden or Giannis or Davis into my lineup? If on DraftKings where Wall's actually affordable at 9,300, if I were to play Russell Westbrook, who's the cheapest of the big four, I have less than $5K remaining per player. So likely if you're playing John Wall, you're either just going full out star scrubs with a bunch of value that we don't have yet, or you're playing, or you're foregoing playing one of Westbrook or Harden or Giannis or Davis. And once again, yes, John Wall can have some very big games, but it's so less likely in this spot for him to do it ahead of some of these other guys. And I don't see how I'm going to fit Wall. And barring any news, we could get some news that could change everything. But Wall and Westbrook, Wall and Harden, Wall and Giannis, Wall and Dave, I don't see that working out very well for me in terms of roster construction. So that's just to give you an idea of where I'm at and why I'm not that high on him. It's more of a roster construction thing than me not thinking he can have a good game.
Agreed. I would just it's a really tough sell after looking at everything else that is out there.
Like, does 55 from Wall help you tonight? I
Nope.
honestly don't think it does.
Not at all. I mean, it's obviously not a death knell, but like that's not what that is not the nut combo of like him plus whatever is not the nut combo at point guard if he goes for 55.
Right. Could Harden, could Westbrook, could Giannis, could Davis go for 80 plus?
Yeah,
pretty easily.
I'd say it's likely that like one of them is up in the high 70s.
I think so. Yeah, maybe two. People will point to Wall's, 79.5 DraftKings point game. But if we're to be, honest with ourselves, that's not necessarily a something you expect to happen again, especially not 2 games later. But that's where I'm at on this game.
I'm with you. I don't have any real piece of Washington. This is not.
I do with Ariza.
Right. See, he's 5,800 on FanDuel, so all bets are off for me. I'm not super interested anymore. 4,500 on DK is a wildly different price point.
Correct.
And I'd feel pretty safe jamming Ariza into a cash lineup on DraftKings.
Yeah. So would I, absolutely.
Moving on to the real meeting of some studs. Milwaukee Bucks hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. 120.25 implied total for the Bucks. 112.25 for the Pels. Does not seem like we're going to be seeing Julius Randle. Does not seem like we're going to see Nikola Mirotic. So let's look at Milwaukee first. 11-8 for Giannis. 11-1 on DraftKings. I'd rather have Giannis than John Wall. But man, oh man, is that a big number.
It is. I think it's a really good spot for Giannis, man.
Yeah.
It is.
It would be hard for it to be worse or better. Like it with it. Actually, it's probably worse for him that those guys aren't in.
Why?
Because they're way less likely to win without Mirotic and Randle, and neither one of those guys is like a defensive stopper that changes the way that Giannis would play today.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That's tough. That's tough for me to say. I don't know if it helps, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a lateral move. But Milwaukee, what, 8.5 points?
Yeah.
232 total.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a spot where he could just erupt.
1.64 fantasy points per minute over his last 30. Whew.
Mm-hmm. And that includes some pretty bad, like a couple really ugly games.
The problem is he has to erupt.
Sure.
What do you have him projected for on DraftKings?
I think 61.
Okay.
61.
57 for me. And that could
I
easily
just
get to 60 if I give him 2 more minutes.
yeah. What do you? Well, how many minutes do you have, Matt?
34.
I have him at 36.
Right. There you go. Then he's at 60.
Yep. Yeah, I really like Giannis here.
Uh,
That's
Let me
it
point
from this
something out
game.
quick that has nothing to do with Giannis, but if you're ever looking at my projections or Andrew's projections or any sort of set of projections and you look at it and you think like, oh, that Giannis projection looks low, like that's garbage. Look at the minutes then as well. It could be as easily as you adding an additional 2 minutes to someone's projections and bumping them up by 3 points. Those things go hand in hand. And you do want to keep an eye on both of those factors because they're both super, super relevant.
Right. Yeah, and if you're doing it manually, just divide the fantasy points by the minutes and times that by the amount of minutes you expect them to play.
Exactly.
I do that all the time. Like if you're doing it manually and you don't have everything automated, it's a quick way to just adjust it and actually not just not having guesswork because all it is how many points per minute what they're projected for. That's a good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I will with Milwaukee though. This is just a team that I have not had other than Giannis, even with injuries, it's hard for me to fall in love with them. I know Adam talks about Middleton being too cheap, and I agree he is, and he shot a little better yesterday, and I think it's a fine spot for him. But Bledsoe's price is getting up there, and he's been pretty good too. I've been having trouble falling in love with any of these guys other than Giannis. Brook Lopez is 4,700, and I think this is a pretty enticing spot. I actually don't mind him. I wish he had power. Not that he should, but power forward eligibility would be nice on DraftKings.
I got a Brook Lopez tidbit for you. By any chance, have you listened to this podcast with Zach Lowe that dropped yesterday?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Spoiler alert for everybody. Zach Lowe asked him a question at the end that said, name a guy in the NBA that gave you like more trouble than you would expect that particular person to give you. Any guess who he said? Like, you don't say Giannis or Embiid or like someone off the beaten path.
Of course. Was it it was a center?
Yeah.
Chris Kaman. No, I'm
No.
kidding.
But you're thinking the right way. Andrea
How long-
Bargnani. I'm giving it to you right now.
Really?
Zach was like, I'm going to be honest with you. That's not the answer I was expecting you to give me.
Wow. Well, it kind of makes sense because as much as Brook Lopez was not a 3-point shooting big up until a while ago, but even if he was defensively, he's much better around the basket where he can block shots. Otherwise, he's not that good laterally. Agility, he doesn't move the best. So somebody like Bargnani that had range, I could see it giving him some trouble, but it's definitely weird. Like
Yeah.
I'm just trying to rationalize that. But
That's kind of what he said. Like he had a lot of like moves that were putting him into motion that didn't really work.
Right.
Good eye on that. Sorry, I wanted to bring it up all day once I heard him say it because like
It's
Zach Lowe
interesting.
was so caught off guard.
But it actually makes once you like actually break it down because people I think
And this was early Brook Lopez too. This wasn't like
exactly.
Yeah, he was like
But
2-3
even
years
so,
in the league.
if you're like, oh, Brook Lopez can shoot threes, that means he's athletic. No, it just means that he's physically able to move his body out behind the 3-point line and he has good form. It doesn't mean that you're a good lateral movement in terms of a defensive defender. It doesn't mean that you move quickly, so that not to be construed with being a good defender and being able to defend guys like Bargnani. It's interesting though.
Yeah.
I should listen to that.
It was a really good conversation. Just like real casual, random shit for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I think he's fine here.
Yeah. Wow, 4,700. You can't beat that really on DK when you can play more than one center.
Not a bad price at all.
No. I think Middleton's fine at 6,500. It's not super appealing, but no real worries with it.
Connaughton played 30 minutes again last game.
Yeah, he's probably not going to play today with Brogdon back.
Wait, is Brogdon confirmed back? I thought he was still questionable. I saw that it was actually not looking great for him.
Maybe I read it wrong.
Let me see. No,
he's questionable. He almost played on Monday per Roto World.
Right, he did, and then he got yanked before it, which makes me wonder if something went wrong there. If he doesn't play, though, I think as many great plays and expensive plays as there are on this slate, you're going to want to look for a couple cheap guys. Connaughton played 30 minutes in that game. If he gets another 30 minutes, it makes it plus that game was competitive up until the end. He's interesting to me because this game just has a very high total, 232 points. This is one where, just being out there should help you fall into some peripheral stats. So it wouldn't be the craziest idea to get some of him sprinkled in there if Brogdon's out and hope for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I put him in for 29 right now. I hope he plays just so that I don't have to pay attention to like the slop at the bottom of Milwaukee.
Yeah, exactly.
Pelicans side, though. I want AD of the two guys in this game. I greatly prefer Anthony Davis. Well, I can't say greatly. That would be dumb. I prefer Anthony Davis to Giannis.
That's interesting. I have a slightly different take. In a vacuum, I think I would agree with that. People love the flavor of the week, right? People love if a guy's out for injury, let's get him and let's get the guy that benefits most into our lineup. And right now, I'm seeing on DraftKings that Giannis has higher expected ownership than Davis.
Same on FanDuel, by the way.
Well, FanDuel, it makes sense because there's a pretty dramatic, $900 price difference?
Yeah.
What is it, 500 on? So he's still more expensive on both sides. I feel like if that trends differently and we start seeing movement there, maybe we won't. But I would have a lot more interest in Giannis over Davis, not because I like him more, but because they have the same ceiling. They're both capable of doing the same thing. They're both in the same game, and that's what it really boils down to. I'm surprised that Davis's ownership projection is that low because you know how it is. Randall's out, Mirotic is out. It's different when it's saying Davis or Mirotic is out and then Randall's cheaper. Definitely a different story. You get a $7,100 guy and then an 11.6. But a lot of times people do lock on to having somebody where like they just know that usage is going to inflate and you're probably going to play. I mean, I'd be surprised if Davis didn't play at least 38. Probably, I'm projecting him. No joke. I think Davis plays 40 minutes here.
Yeah.
It's hard to see him not play 40 minutes.
The reason it's so easy for me to play Anthony Davis is that I'm going to also be playing as much Check Diallo as I can possibly fit into my lineup, which is, disgusting. But $3,800 on FanDuel, and you can throw it in the garbage if it goes wrong.
No, absolutely. And power forward is huge.
Right, which helps offset that 12.7 price tag on AD's head.
Exactly. Now, it's different, though. I do think it's a little bit different on DraftKings. Like, with DraftKings inflating his price, I wanted to say artificially inflating it, because they didn't do it because of his performance or because of his ownership last game. This is simply because they had prior... they before making the salaries, Randall and Mirotic were out. So it's like, what do you get? You get an expensive Diallo. I still think at 45 he's all right. I guess the question is, we know that Randall, Mirotic, and Davis soak up almost all the minutes at the 4 and 5. Who's going to get these minutes today? Is it going to be Solomon Hill who plays 35, 37 minutes? Could be. But if he's 3,900 on DraftKings, and Diallo's 4,500, I actually would try and find the $600. Now, I still expect Solomon Hill to play more minutes, though, which makes it difficult. You get more minutes at a cheaper price point from Hill and more per minute production from Diallo, so it's tough. I don't see any of them as being locks on DraftKings. but you have to consider him. One more thing, Josh. Anthony Davis has played 110 minutes without Randall and Mirotic on the court this year. 2.18 fantasy points per minute on DraftKings. 2.33 FanDuel points per minute.
That's insanity.
Nuts. So let's just say, and I know the sample's small, I know the matchup isn't perfect, but let's just say, he plays 40 minutes. That's 87 DraftKings.
Yeah, I was gonna say just make it 2. That's 80.
That's insane. That's so insane. 38% usage, 19% rebounding, 26% assist rate, and 2.18 DraftKings points per minute.
Yeah, I'm all over AD.
You have to be. Which is why I'm surprised that his ownership projection is that low. Because to me, I'm like, oh, he's clearly the play here. Which I was like, oh, well, if that's the case, then Giannis can drop 82. I'll get some of him over Davis in some lineups. But that doesn't appear to be the general consensus right now.
He's not the only guy I want in this game with abundance.
Yeah, Drew, man.
Yep.
Drew is in a good spot.
Yeah, 8,900 on FanDuel. I'm in. I'm just in. All the way.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. If you I'll put Drew on here with Davis, Randall and Mirotic off. We're not going to get a lot of minutes here. There's no way. Let's see. We got 80 minutes. Davis in this case has 38.6% usage and 2.38 fantasy points per minute.
What a bum.
That's with 2.38. That's with Drew on. Drew Holiday in this scenario has 23% usage, 25% assist rate, and 1.09 fantasy points per minute. So nothing spectacular, but I mean, you'd have a tough time making an argument that he's worse because Mirotic and Randall are off the court,
Yeah. What a scrub. Only 2.38.
That's so, I mean, look, 80 minutes, sure, but 80 minutes is still like, for 2.38, you're still thinking, oh, that's insane.
Yeah. Like, I mean, let's say if he plays at a 2 point per minute clip tonight for the 40 minutes that we think that it's reasonable for him to play, like that number still stays really crazy. And then the next time we do this, it's like in 120 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Let's just say 2.38 across 40 minutes. 95.2 DraftKings points, not including that. They don't, by the way, they don't include the double and triple bonuses in these per minute,
which you sort of get by default in those cases.
Exactly. That's why when I like to calculate per minute production, not when I'm doing like on and off, but regular per minute production by their actual DraftKings points per game, like on the player page, divided by their minutes, because then because that matters with certain players. Certain players get triple doubles rather frequently. Certain, like Westbrook's, which is 6 points. Certain players average a double a game. So it's good to take the actual raw points there.
Yeah. Oh man. Fun game.
Before we move on, what are you doing with the rest of the Pelicans? Like, are you playing any Hill or Frazier or anyone?
I doubt it. If anybody pops up, it's fine, but I'm concentrating everything into AD, Drew, and Diallo. If I get any Frazier, if I get Hill or more, or we get like some additional information as we get closer to lock, I don't have a problem with it just because of the way that this game should play out, but I'm going to stick to the goods at the top or someone like Diallo that I can conceivably drop at close to a minimum salary.
What about Diallo on DraftKings?
I probably wouldn't be anywhere near it. Unless we get some sort of word about how much he could play. Like, 4,500 is a lot at that point. It's fine. Like, it's totally reasonable. It's night and day to FanDuel. It's
reasonable, but it's not enticing. It's kind of just like, okay, fine. But it's I don't like point per dollar wise, he's not the greatest play. How much Jahlil Okafor will you have?
0.
Right answer.
Yeah, 0 for sure.
Yeah, I was joking, by the way,
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't even think I projected him with minutes.
I'll give him like 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the type of game where he needs to be out there.
Right.
He's certainly not chasing Brook Lopez out on the 3-point line.
I don't have him projected to play any minutes, but I bet he plays like 3 or 4 just to give a guy a rest or so.
X Cossack says Diallo, just a bad play today, but I guess on FanDuel you just don't care about shitty plays. Well, how could it possibly? Why? I saw you mention earlier that they'll probably go small and Diallo won't play that much. He's 6'9".
I was
How
gonna
much
say
smaller would you like him to go?
Diallo is not your traditional center. He's like
No.
220. He's 220 pounds, 6'9".
Sure, he'll be fine out on the wing chasing Brook Lopez around.
He's not he's not he's not that big. Like he's not. I mentioned this on the podcast today. He's not your like traditional hulking center,
Yeah.
at all. Not something that would really be a huge deal here.
Not
Not
against this team.
not to
Milwaukee is all
mention
space now.
not to mention that if you look at like any scouting report on Diallo, it talks about his athleticism.
Yeah.
Like he's been comped to like Siakam and Capella and guys like that. So
I just expect him to have to soak. Like I've got him in for 25 minutes. I don't think that's an irrational amount of minutes for him to play in this spot. At $3,800 on FanDuel in a game with a 130 or 230 total. I mean,
right.
that's at some point in time you need to play someone a little bit cheaper.
The concern isn't going small. It's actually, actually you'd be going bigger by playing Davis at the 5 because Davis is 6'10", 250.
Yeah.
So that is a concern. Yes. Your way you're seeing it is wrong because it's not like they're going small to go up against Milwaukee. No, that's not the case. It's actually would be that Alvin Gentry just feels more comfortable with a Davis Solomon Hill front court over Diallo and Davis.
What do you have Diallo projected for minutes?
I thought I had him at like 22. Let me see. 23 I have him at.
Yeah. Even at 23, it's to me I don't even bat an eye at playing him a ton on FanDuel.
No, on FanDuel it's perfectly fine. But I'm not playing him on DraftKings, I don't think. Maybe I'm sure I'll land on a bit when I run crunches, but no, I don't think I'll probably have 10, 15% maybe. I haven't run any yet. It could be less than that. I don't believe it will be more than that at all.
It's just, I mean, they're losing out on essentially all of their normal 4-5 rotation.
Right.
Somebody's got to soak it up.
Let me ask you. Let's move to the Minnesota-Detroit game because this actually that's not the game. Never mind.
It is the next one up on the list.
It is. I was thinking Sacramento though, but we'll get to that one last.
Yeah. Wolves and Pistons, 111.75 implied total for the Wolves, 106.75 for the Pistons. We'll start at the top with Towns, 9,900 on FanDuel, 9,700 on DK. Perfectly fine there, but no Jeff Teague tonight. So the real play in this game, Derrick Rose.
Right, Derrick Rose is someone I like quite. I like, just to be clear, I like Chris Dunn more than Derrick Rose. Same eligibility on DraftKings, similar price, getting $400 discount on Dunn. So I like Chris Dunn more than I like Derrick Rose, but I still have Derrick Rose as a fine play.
Yeah.
Towns I don't have an issue with. I don't think I'm prioritizing him here, but I still have no issues with the matchup. Good spot, but again, are you going to be able to fit him in with Davis or with Giannis or with Westbrook? And then if you're looking for value here and like hoping someone can pay off their salary, Okogie would be my guy over someone like Tyus Jones. Okogie last game was at least on pace to play 26, 27 minutes, which he did, whereas Tyus Jones was on pace to play 18 minutes before the blowout and got additional 6 minutes over the last half of the fourth quarter. So those minutes were inflated due to blowout. I don't see him having a point assist double-double here. I'd rather go with Okogie knowing that his minutes are or Stabler with um with Teague out. Aside from that, that's all I have in this game. Covington, I still don't think is back to full health.
Yeah, he's a guy that pops up for me a lot just because of how he's been playing. But I think that eye test is real here for him. He
Right.
seems a little off.
He doesn't seem as quick right now. From what I've seen, he just doesn't seem as quick, and it's not a huge surprise given that he was dealing with a knee injury.
Right. From the Pistons side, I'm totally fine having some Drummond, 9,500 on FanDuel. Do you prefer Drummond or Blake by any chance?
I'll go with the cheaper guy here,
Yeah.
that's all. Give me the cheaper guy. Blake triple-doubled in less than 3 quarters last game. Pretty impressive, but I'll go with the on DraftKings, you have a $500 discount. Yeah, give me Drummond. It just really just comes down to point per dollar value, and Drummond here has is it has better value than Blake Griffin, and I think his matchup is better against Towns. I think he's a good spot for the Town, unless of course Dario Saric is playing a bunch of minutes. Then Blake's matchup gets really, really, really good.
Yeah, he ate his shit once before this season.
Yes, he did. That sounds like actually Saric excelled in that match. If Blake had to eat Saric's shit,
That's true.
that sounds awful for Blake.
Yeah, it doesn't sound desirable. I don't know. Some people like it. It's not me.
No, it's not something I've tried either.
No, it doesn't sound desirable. Dogs love it. So maybe we're missing out.
It's possible.
I
We're not.
sincerely
We're
doubt it.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Use the term, he shit all over him. That's definitely more fun to say and makes more sense.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
the one doing the shitting will never be misconstrued as the victim in that case. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Oh, you're totally right. I love the way you put it too.
Yeah.
Do you want any other part of the Pistons? Any
You're
other
not like,
backboard
he
or
shit all over him. Oh, poor Blake.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm good on this game. It's just
That's
not it.
Yeah. No Luke Kennard for me.
No, not at all.
And Wiggins' minutes are just too erratic right now.
Oh, he's erratic. 0.78 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, on the season, he's got to be around like 0.85 or something, which really isn't that good.
Oh, it's atrocious.
On the season, he's at 0.86.
God, what a terrible contract. Who would have thought that somehow that gorgeous Dong contract would be the second worst one on the Timberwolves?
Pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
He just never lived up to it.
No.
But that's what I have from in this game.
Yeah.
Rose, Towns, I have no issues with. I like Towns. Okogie, if you're desperate for value, I mean, look, he's really cheap. He's $3,200 on DraftKings. So, if you do get 27, 28 minutes from him, you don't need a monster game. And this is if you're trying to fit in like a Westbrook and a Wall, as someone mentioned that they liked him, or a Towns or a Drummond. You're definitely going to need one player below 4K to make that work. You have to, right?
You're not going to have a choice.
Right. You're not going to have a choice with Harden and okay, so Davis and Drummond, just throwing it out there, you have 48.8 remaining per player. If you throw a Koji in there, you at least get you up to 52 remaining per player. Maybe you can do something with that. I haven't made lineups yet, but it's pretty much common sense.
3 games left. I think we're doing pretty well. We've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, but there's not really any other way to do it.
We're going to come in at 2 hours, which is pretty good for 12 games.
Yeah.
Because 2 of these games are not good, actually. We might be less than 2 hours, honestly.
Yeah, not going to have a lot to talk about in Portland, Memphis. Although, I don't know, maybe Dame and CJ will treat Memphis like Harden just did.
Hey, anything's possible. But I'm not going to roll the dice on it.
I wanted you to give me the KG there.
The what?
the KG, anything is possible.
Oh no.
No.
Well, anything is possible, but
it's true.
McCollum had a great game. He had 40 real points against them earlier this year, I think.
He went pretty aggressive there. 107.5 implied total for the Jazz. 110.5 for the Golden State Warriors. We'll start on the Utah side, where I don't really see a ton to talk about outside of I like Ricky Rubio.
Yeah. All right.
Too cheap. Maybe. 6,100 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DK. I'm not like, I don't know.
But is he really too cheap?
Maybe.
I don't know, dude. I don't think I have.
I mean, I'm not saying like, lock him in or anything. Price has just been tumbling. Still gonna get it, still getting into the 30 minutes a game.
I do have him as a good value. I'll say that much. Just in terms of where he's projected, I have him as a good value, but I don't know how I'm going to end up with a lot of him. I have him as one of the actually have him as one of the better values on the slate at this price, but I still don't know if. I don't know. It's concerning because like, do we need to adjust what we expect from him on a per minute basis?
Maybe a little bit. Just a hair under a point per minute over the last 30 days.
And on the season.
Yeah. So that's the ballpark of that price point.
Right. Yeah. I guess I could see it. Really, like, I don't have issues with it, but the problem is I don't have any. There's nothing I can say to reinforce it. Like, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna find anything that's like, here's why he's a really good play.
Exactly. Like that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He grades out well. The price point looks fine for what you would expect him to do based on how he's performed. It's just you don't get that feeling like, and this is how I see him going from the 34 projected points to 45.
Exactly. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell was a good play on DraftKings the other day at 6,800. He had 45 fantasy points. That was cool.
Climb him back up.
Yeah, no, it was also a smaller slate. I'm not paying mid 7 for him here. I can't do it. He relies way too much on raw scoring and on a slate like this, you can't take a 32 fantasy point game from Mitchell at that price and escape alive. No. You can't.
Not at all. Golden State side. I love Durant today. 9,200 on FanDuel there's too much upside in that price.
It's an interesting take. I knew to expect that because you had mentioned him a bunch throughout the show. I don't know if I'm there, man. I don't know if I'm there. I don't think I am. How many fantasy points do you have him projected for?
48 on DK.
And how many minutes?
35.
Okay. I have him at 34 minutes and 42 fantasy points, which is probably a bit conservative. But with this team fully healthy, I'm down on Durant a little bit.
Weird guy to be down on.
Well, it's all relative. I'm not down on Durant as a basketball player or as one of the best in the world. I'm just down on him compared to the million other really good plays on this slate. So we're clear.
Yeah, here's a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So last year, for essentially the whole year on FanDuel, he was 10-5, 10-8, 11. What's different that makes 9,200 today less appealing? And I don't mean that in a negative way, like.
Sure. Well, I know I would never be playing him there anyway. So, like, I wasn't playing him at 10-5 or 11.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if you were either. Maybe.
I mean, depending on the day, obviously, yeah. No,
really,
it's certainly less appealing. That's for sure. But
I really
when I
don't
look
think he's
at
a
it, it's
bad
just
play.
like I would rather have Kevin Durant at 92 than Giannis at 11.8.
You know what I keep coming back to again, though, and this might sound crazy, but like, really, what is Durant's ceiling right now with this team healthy? Or what are his chances of hitting? What are the odds? You run these numbers. Like, what are the odds that he hits his ceiling at with everyone healthy and playing their regular allotment of minutes?
7% to hit 57.5.
And like, what do you have Giannis to hit percentage to hit 60?
Oh God, real high, real high. Count
How
is
long does it take to pull it up?
5 seconds to hit 60 or greater.
Mm-hmm.
11%.
Oh, that's not as high as I thought. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that. Wow, 11% for Giannis to hit 60 or more? Wow. I thought Kyle Lowry's out. Serge Ibaka's out. Whoo. There you go.
That feels. I'm with
Right?
you. That's not right.
Seems really low, right?
That's not right.
And the reason I say that is that Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging 55 on the season.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah. Like averaging 57 DraftKings points on the year. Did you hear what I said though? Ibaka and Lowry are both out, so that's pretty big news.
Yeah, giant news. Then
I was honestly thinking it'd be. I'm not even kidding. I thought it would be at like 40%.
Yeah, it should be. It should be.
So that's my only.
I have him projected for 57. It's got to be
right.
It's got to be in the 30s.
Right. So I'm not arguing against Durant being viable at that price. I guess my only point was like, is it worth spending down there or paying up for a guy who, is going to cross that 60 fantasy point threshold like 30-40% of the time? So that's my only take here is I think I'm probably just going to take the route for the guy that is likely to give me 60 and could very easily give me 80. And that's where I'm at.
The main caveat for me is that I'm preferring Anthony Davis to Giannis. And by doing that, getting to Durant at small forward is easier than getting to Giannis.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable. But can you do that on? I haven't made any lineups on FanDuel. Can you do that on FanDuel if you're paying isn't Davis like 12.5 or something? 12.7?
I got 11 of the 150 I crunched with Durant and AD.
Okay. And I'm assuming Diallo's in all 11 of those.
Find out. It seems likely. 7 of 11.
Okay.
The other 4 would be Bobby Portis, Aaron Gordon, and Draymond Green.
Although I'll tell you this much. Life may get a little easier now if you want to plug that Greg Monroe in.
Yeah, for real.
Greg Monroe is 38 on FanDuel, but he's center eligible. So you can
opens up a bit.
You can play Monroe and Diallo in the same lineup if you want. Is it risky? Obviously. Could we just see a smaller lineup for Toronto? Yes. But I don't think this is the day where Nick Nurse goes small against the Pacers. Like it doesn't seem like you would want to go that small against Miles Turner. Yeah. Interesting.
You want any Curry or Draymond or Clay?
No, I don't really have any of this game.
Okay. Let's plow
Curry would actually be my guy though if I was going with anyone here.
Yeah, 9,200 on FanDuel. Again, he's someone where I have no qualms with getting whatever I get of him.
Yeah, I like Curry more than Durant personally.
That's fair. Portland and Memphis. This one should be quick. 103.5 implied total for Portland, 97.5 from Memphis. Portland 6-point favorites here. I got 1% of Mo Harkless and nothing else from Portland. I got 1% of Jaren Jackson and nothing else from Memphis. Everybody's priced better on DK, so the floor is yours.
Right. I have nothing from this game at all, but I will tell you this much. Remember I said in the San Antonio-Orlando game, I was like, if Aaron Gordon's ruled out, then this guy, Vooch was just ruled out. So now Mo Bamba becomes maybe No, he is the
Jesus
top
Christ.
overall value play on this slate. No, this is great, dude. We're getting this news early.
Here we go.
I mean, it's not great in terms of now he's going to be chalk, but it's weird. It plays in exactly what I was saying. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter of the total of the pace. If a big name is ruled out, this guy immediately becomes a play. It just so happens that an hour and a half later, that's exactly what came to fruition. And now Mo Bamba is your top value play on the slate. As of now, hands down, I don't think you can make an argument against that.
That seems pretty likely to me.
Yeah, other than a blowout, but San Antonio has not been good enough, particularly away from home, for me to think that they just run all over them in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to be listening to a lot of Sheck West today. If Mike Conley is out, Shelvin Mack becomes super interesting here.
Oh, good call. Yeah, good point. That would be it for me. Honestly, yeah. I don't think there's anywhere else that you need to go. But yes, Shelvin Mack would be viable here.
Yeah, otherwise I'm good to go on this one. It's just there's too many fantasy points in other games.
Greg Monroe's starting, baby. There it is.
Holy shit! What time did we go into a coma and wake up at 6:30?
I know.
Since when does shit happen in the morning?
I don't know, but it's kind of cool that like very rarely do we say things early in the show and then it still on the show. It's like, hey, talked about Greg Monroe maybe starting today, maybe being a good play. Oh, wait, look at that. We're still on the stream and Greg Monroe's starting. So this is cool. I'm actually all about it.
I hope this isn't a sign of things to come tonight where it's just bedlam from 6 to 7.
I feel like if we're getting all this news now, it won't be.
Yeah. Let's close it out.
Yep.
Sacramento Kings, Oklahoma City Thunder, 114.5 for the Kangs, 119.5 for the Thunder. I honestly, I don't even really know how to talk about this. I can be talked into Willie Cauley-Stein. I can be talked pretty heavily into Bjelica. And then you can think about what happened a couple nights ago and just think, how do you trust anything that's coming out of the Sacramento side?
I have pretty firm takes on this game. I feel a little bit more confident than you about it. I don't think Jaeger pulls that shit at home. Unless you're legitimately trying to get fired.
I mean, he strikes me as the type of person that gives very little fucks.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But you know what? There's still 2 games above 500. Like, yeah. They are legitimately in the playoff race in late December. You'd have to be a bona fide moron to do that. I don't think he will. I almost see it as like he was just giving them a night off, which is really stupid. I mean, it was the second of a back-to-back. Really dumb. Fox, Bogdanovich, Cauley-Stein, Bjelica played a combined 29 minutes. Hield was the only one that saw more than 10 minutes in the starting lineup. Look, I like De'Aaron Fox is going to shake some people off after that 6-minute 0.75 fantasy point performance. The matchup against OKC in terms of like positional matchup and defensive matchup isn't good, but I like Fox here. Fox has thrived in difficult matchups this season. 48 against the Warriors, twice against Memphis and Mike Conley's solid pick and roll defense. He was good. I like Fox here. I think his price is very reasonable. I'm going back to Bjelica with Marvin Bagley out. I expect his minutes to trend back upwards again. I'm not worried about that last game, even though I'm still pissed about it. And then if Shump is out, you're going to see Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich also questionable, but if he plays and Shump is out, you're going to get good run from him. But really, for me, you mentioned Willie Cauley-Stein. I think he's still too cheap, but it is a tough spot. My 2 plays that I really like from this game are De'Aaron Fox and Bjelica, or from Sacramento. I really like those guys quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, the Willie Cauley-Stein price is really nice. Bjelica at 4,800 on DraftKings is insanity. He's also the chalk on DraftKings. Well, he was prior to Vooch and
exactly
the
that's
Raptors news.
Things.
But that's nice price points. I just on FanDuel where those guys are priced up a little bit more, I'm fine getting to Bjelica at 5,800 mostly because of his position. Otherwise, I'm not super interested in the Kings. The biggest piece of this game that I want would be Schroeder, 5,700 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DK.
I like Schroeder as well. By the way, another thing we talked about earlier. Now those of you who want to play John Wall or Drummond, Towns,
Yeah.
that becomes exponentially easier now
Yep.
with this news that we're getting. So life just got easier. Also, don't forget about the fact that Vooch out doesn't just help Mo Bamba. With Vooch off the court, you're going to see usage rates climb pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
And that's gonna change things quite a bit. So Mo Bamba obviously gains the most just raw projection upgrade here, but you're still getting a lot elsewhere. Like Terrence Ross has a 27% usage rate with no Vooch. I guess everyone else is relatively low, but it has to go somewhere, right? Like Evan Fournier has benefited greatly from Vooch being off the court this year, or throughout his career. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it changes that game up quite a bit.
Yeah. But I like Schroeder. I love Westbrook.
Yeah.
I really look. Westbrook has 13 points in 3 straight games, and he has 52, 55, and 62 fantasy points. Not many players are capable of giving you 62 fantasy points and scoring only 13 real points. That's not a common occurrence in the NBA. His shooting looks bad right now. Like, I'm wondering if he has thoracic outlet syndrome like Fultz and he just isn't telling anybody. But I think you still can't overlook him here, and he'll probably be the guy that is overlooked, despite what the ownership projections say. I feel like it. No, you know what? No, I could.
Well,
I'm probably
they're going
wrong
up now.
What's up?
They're going to go up now.
Yes, well, all of those guys are.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I'm wrong. Simply because the total in this game, I think a lot of people ignore that Westbrook has struggled lately.
Yeah.
We have him right now on DraftKings at 12%, Giannis at 14%, Davis at 11%, Harden at 11%. You're right; they're all going to come up.
Yep, they're all going to climb now.
But just to wrap it up, Westbrook, Schroeder on that side. I actually don't think Steven Adams is a terrible play either, but I'm not prioritizing him. And Jeremy Grant, just because of the super high total in this game, is a fine play, but I don't love him. Just he's playing a lot of minutes. And I like De'Aaron Fox a lot, and I like Bielitsa on the other side a lot.
Okay. Time to hit a couple Thrive props, then we're going to get out of here.
All right, let's do it.
First one up is not going to be the first one up any longer. It would have been Vooch and LaMarcus Aldridge, but that one just went in the dumper. So here's one for you that's near and dear to your heart. Would you rather have Enes Kanter plus 1.5 rebounds or Joel Embiid? Kanter gets 105 points if you play him.
Plus 1.5 rebounds.
Yep.
Give me Embiid here. Trust his minutes more, and if it's a blowout, they're both going to lose minutes. So I'll take Embiid.
Yeah, I've even with the 1.5, I get Embiid with a full rebound ahead.
Right.
So going to be a tough sell for me there. Oh wait, that's not true. I refreshed. Sorry. With the 1.5, I get Kanter a full 1.9 rebounds ahead. I do have Kanter projected pretty aggressively from a minutes perspective, but yeah, give me Kanter in the 105 now.
Okay.
I guess go Knicks. Ooh, this one's fun, especially given the news we just got. Victor Oladipo plus 4.5 points and rebounds against Kawhi Leonard.
Oh.
You get 110 points for taking Victor Oladipo, just 90 for Kawhi.
There's no Joe Val, there's no Lowry, there's no Ibaka. Danny Green's a low volume, low usage guy. No, I think I still got to stick Kawhi here, but I think the Oladipo side's still pretty sharp. Even so, that's really a toss up to me at plus 4.5.
I haven't taken Lowry out yet. I have, even giving Victor Oladipo 4.5 points and rebounds, I have Kawhi significantly ahead.
Right, you're just gonna have a very tough time making that argument.
And it only got worse.
Right. The only reason that we're talking about Oladipo would be in tournaments, which means that we're not projecting him for that, but we know that he has the upside to do so. In a spot like this on Thrive, you're not really playing it for that.
Right.
You're playing the probabilities.
How about points plus assists? Devin Booker plus a half against Kyrie Irving. You get 105 points for taking Devin Booker.
Yeah, this one's really tough, and I'm still going Kyrie Irving here.
I have Kyrie by that half amount. Like it's the hook.
Because if Devin Booker has a good game, there's a very good chance that means Irving had to have a good game.
Yeah.
But if Irving has a good game, it does not mean that Devin Booker has to have a good game.
This one should be the most interesting one we do. Hold on. There we go. Anthony Davis plus 3.5 points, rebounds, and assists against Giannis.
Yep. A guy that's averaging 2.18 fantasy points per minute with Randall and Mirotic off the court. You're giving Davis 3.5.
Yep. And it's even action, 100 on both sides.
If you're giving me 3.5, I'm taking them.
Yeah, happily. I could have been giving 3.5 as Anthony Davis and still taking Anthony Davis in this scenario.
Right, exactly. By the way, Tim Hardaway and Damian Dotson are both active tonight.
Ooh, okay. That's interesting. I just assumed he was going to be out.
On Cantor.
What about Cantor?
I said it still doesn't change my opinion on Cantor.
All right, final one. De'Aaron Fox. It's a big number, so be ready because it makes the adjustment in your head pretty difficult. I can't type De'Aaron Fox today for some reason. Plus 10.5 points and assists against Russell Westbrook.
You said De'Aaron. Okay, I found it. It's at the bottom.
Yeah. That's tight when you get 10.5.
Let me try and think here. 45. I think I still have to go. Because I do like Fox here. I've got Westbrook at a 45. And let's see, I've got Fox at. No, I still have Westbrook well ahead of that.
Okay. I've got Westbrook by 1.5 after that 10.5. So give me Russ, but it is close.
Okay. I have him by around 3.
Okay. There we go, everybody. 5 props from Thrive. If you want to check it out, go to thrivefantasy.com. You'll pick 10 props out of the 20 that are listed. You get a certain amount of points for each one. The points are where the game theory comes into play. Coming up for the rest of the day, Adam has the deep dive, which will be quite the tomb to read, I would imagine.
He's pretty stoked that hey, he had a chance to pick this one on Friday. He picked a bigger slate.
What a dummy. Deeper dive at 4:45 without question for today. Gonna need it. And then live before lock tonight, Chris Baggs and Eddie Fear taking you all the way up until lock. Like this video. Comment after the video is over, predicting the score for the Celtics and Suns. The obvious blowout, in my opinion. We're bringing it all the way back to 2 hours ago.
Yep.
Locke, you got anything else?
Nah, man, we talked a lot, and I'm just glad we got a lot of this news in. It sucks it happened early. Everyone can prepare for it, but it would have been the same if it was an hour or whatever before lock. It's at least good that it happened on the show and not 10 minutes after. So for that,
absolutely.
I'm grateful.
Get that Mo Bamba in your life, everybody. Best of luck. We'll talk to you tomorrow.